I'm Aryeh Schwartz alongside Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr Show, where it's all about the W. The draft is near. It's just a few days away, and I'm excited to be in the booth with Rachel Galligan to discuss all things WNBA, hot topics, and beyond. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing staff's written content at winsidr.com and check out our video content, YouTube. Search at Winsidr. Welcome back to the show. Very excited to be here. First and foremost, Rachel, before we dive in, we have some very exciting news in Winsidr. We've brought on some really cool, talented, experienced people to the team, and I'm excited to see the type of content we're able to create for this season. Honestly, I think we're going to be able to do some stuff that the WNBA world has not seen before. So I'm really excited about that. And it's not me just saying it to get a shameless plug to remind people to subscribe to our show wherever they can find it, tell their friends, subscribe on YouTube. These things truly benefit us and give us the ability to bring in revenue and continue to do our coverage. So without further ado, Rachel, let's talk about a few things. It's been a pretty crazy March Madness, and I know we're not going to talk about college basketball too much, but can you just talk to me about that 45-point game in Alabama by Sarah Barker? Because Rachel, that's what I want to start with. Maybe because it's like fresh on my mind. I know that's an absurd thing to start with, and it's so out of left field. And you're like, why, what, why, who? I just want to talk about that because she's a player that maybe isn't going to be getting a ton of WNBA attention. She's a player that, is not widely regarded in a lot of mock drafts that I've seen. But that was a gutsy performance. I mean, that was putting a team on your back and carrying them as far as you could until, honestly, it reminds me of the one time I ran a marathon and I saw this person like collapse in front of me. And it reminded me of that, just like that, pushing yourself to the limit and doing everything you can. Talk to me just briefly, please.
Well, you asked me a question recently on, I think it was one of our WNBA weekly shows about like, how much does March Madness truly impact like a draft stock? This was right before the tournament started. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it can be huge. Look at how far we've come, even in just that first conversation of you asked me that question a few weeks ago to where we are now, and just some of the heroic performances we have. You could talk about Paige Beckers solidifying in what, in my opinion, should be no question at this point, who is the number one draft pick, and her ability to elevate her play at the highest level on the biggest stage with the most pressure and play exceptionally well these last 3 games, averaging 35 points a game and facilitating and making the right read, making the right play. Sarah Ashley Barker. I mean, that's a player that, like, if you're a women's basketball, like college basketball, like talking head that really analyzes it all, you know about her, you know what she can do, but like that turned some heads for me, and I already know, like, there's GMs and front offices who had their eye on her, but then they go watch a performance like that. You cannot tell me that stock doesn't rise. Again, who's elevating their play and making those types of performances on the biggest stage in the biggest moment when your back is against the wall and the pressure is as high as it ever is? That's what forges a pro. That's what front offices, I want to see that type of pressure and being able to handle that type of pressure and still make plays, still make shots, still be aggressive. Even a player like a Hailey Van Lith, like a lot of people were wrong about her. A lot of people, kind of had written her off, and it comes down to fit. Yeah, it comes down to fit. It comes down to opportunity and like what she's been able to do at LSU, or not at LSU, at TCU this year. And even like the tournament, like her playmaking in the tournament and elevating her play. But then even in that final game against Texas, where everybody on TCU was like completely overwhelmed and overpowered, the one person who looked like they were trying to make a play and trying to make something happen and did not really shy away from that moment was Hailey Van Lith. Now, I would argue she didn't have a whole lot of help in that specific game. But I don't know. I just think that that's what March Madness is about. It's about those types of performances out of, all the players from top to bottom, from a number one draft pick to, somebody who hadn't necessarily been talked about a ton. I mean, look at like a Lucy Olsen from Iowa who had transferred in from Villanova, and, people who know her and people who really watch her are aware of how talented she is. And we know Iowa players can have success in the WNBA, but like that's someone whose stock has risen, not even, necessarily through the tournament, but just over the last couple of months. So I don't know. I love this time of year because I like just talking about the different performances. And I mean, that's what this game is about, is trying to figure out who's built for this next step.
Yeah. And honestly, I have so many thoughts right now about March Madness. I mean, first of all, I think the Haley Van Lith aspect is so much more impressive. First of all, props to her for understanding, hey, bad year, stock dropped. Let me go back to school, raise it up, build that confidence, build my skill set. Love that. Love that for her. But also, I think going through the tribulations and the trials really made this season that much more impressive.
For sure.
Also, I don't know, Rachel, if you've ever thought of this. You've experienced, real basketball madness of basketball. I do not think as a teenager, as a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, I understand that you don't really have a choice, but like, I don't feel like I would be able to handle not only the pressure, but the emotional aspect of March Madness. I mean, so quickly, your season is done and you move on. And these players do it. And I think it's so impressive to watch them handle that and it's one game, right? Like it's not the W where you have a series. It's not overseas where you have a series. It's just one game and your season is done. It doesn't matter the greatness you had before it. It doesn't matter. You just don't get another chance. I don't think personally I would be able to handle the emotion of that. So I want to give some love and respect to that. There was a topic. We didn't prepare for this, so I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot. You kind of did, but you didn't. There was a topic a few weeks ago, when we do our WNBA weekly show on Bleacher Report, everyone should check it out. Shameless plug, Tuesdays, 3 p.m. on the Bleacher Report app. We, a couple weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, we always have these like extra topics in case we go over or in case we go under and we need to like kill extra time, little peek behind the curtain. And one of the topics that we brought up and we're discussing, or that we didn't bring up, but we had in case, was way too early dark horses to win it all. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because you picked a team that I think a lot of people would when we were discussing this off air, just our normal text debates. You said Indiana Fever. Totally legit. Totally agree. That's probably the team that I would pick. And you were like, okay, but Aryeh, who are you going to pick? And I'm like, racking my brain for a really long time. And you pushed me. You're like, give me a team. And I was like, Phoenix. And you're like, whoa. And you and I kind of started going back and forth on it. And so I'm curious if we can kind of let our listeners into our debate on that, because for me, it was not a choice of this is the best option. I think you took the best option, which was kind of not fair by you. But it was more so of a lack of other options, maybe. For that's how I got to Phoenix. That top end talent that they have with their starting three, starting four.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious for you, and then I'll kind of dive into more. So why not some other teams that I think maybe other people might consider? Why are you ignoring them, Aryeh?
I think it's just, we're recording this, it's the very beginning of April. So we have a pretty decent understanding now of free agency's done. We've been able to digest it. Everybody's done their grades. Everybody's talked about the trades. Everybody's paying attention to the draft now and like who's making moves, who's not making moves, who's hiring employees in the middle of free agency. Like, yeah, it's just like there's been a lot to kind of unpack, and like it's very clear that the Liberty are running it back. It's very clear the Las Vegas Aces are trying to fill the gaps, but stay the same, trying to run it back. Minnesota Lynx didn't necessarily do a whole lot, trying to run it back and fill the gaps of Ceci Zandalicini. And can they add a piece in the draft? Can some of these younger players take the next step. So like those three, okay. And then you're kind of left there like the next one was always Connecticut. Well, like I look at Connecticut now and like I know we all are like, oh my God, like what happened? It's just like everything's imploded. Like again, we knew this was going to happen. I don't know that we realized it would be this abruptly harsh, I guess is a good way to put it. But I look at Connecticut as like major opportunity. And it like I'm over criticizing this franchise because like this is a part of professional sports is embracing like a rebuild and just kind of diving into it from that standpoint. And so like I'm just excited with a team like Connecticut, like wide open for opportunity with what that is going to look like here for years to come. And it'll be fun to kind of look at that and dissect it. And it's going to take a long time. And you look at the training camps there, training camp contracts. And again, like we all want to talk about expansion. We all want to talk about how difficult it is to make a roster in the WNBA. Well, like Phoenix and Connecticut, like get prepared to check out some players you haven't necessarily heard of before because they're going to have to fill out their rosters. I don't know what these teams are going to look like. I don't know what direction these teams are going. I mean, when you first said the Phoenix thing as being like your dark horse contender, like it's just, I get what you're doing because of the top heavy superstardom of Kalia Copper, Alyssa Thomas. I don't even know who else is Satu Sabali. And then there's like no one else on the team. So it's like, okay, well, like they have them. Are they supposed to play 40 minutes a night and just like Alyssa Thomas is your point guard, I guess? Like, it's just funny to me because like, they're just incomplete. There's a lot of incomplete teams right now. With that, someone like me gets excited for the possibility of opportunity and maybe some international players or players who've been playing pro for a long time who are going to get a chance. I love that stuff. I think it's great. It's hard for me to sit there and say Phoenix is a contender, but like a dark horse one, like I'm looking at the most complete team. Indiana, everybody wanted to quickly say that they were a contender. This is not me calling them a contender. I want to be very clear on this. Indiana made the best moves in the offseason. Indiana moved the bar and did it a great way. They added phenomenal pieces that I'm high on. They got rid of some bad contracts that they needed to get rid of. They made the moves and they made the right moves in the offseason. I think it moves the needle of them no longer being a lottery team, that's for sure. They are securely in the playoffs, and I think they're prepared to take that next step of, making a semifinals or, maybe being a disruptor late on in the season and maybe being a team that can go toe-to-toe with anybody else in the country. Of course, now you've got superstardom and you've got a little bit of consistency and a two-headed monster, and Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark are getting more playoff experience. You got Dewana Bonner, who's won a championship. You got Sophie Cunningham, who's going to be the muscle and take somebody's head off if anyone tries to mess with their girls. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I definitely see them a little bit more around that like 4, 5, 6 range. They're taking the right steps, but they could be a dark horse. Like, could they catch lightning in a bottle and like, kind of like the Atlanta Dream did that one year where it was like with Nikki Collin. Remember when they just like, could the Fever do that? Yeah. So then after that, who's the next dark horse? Like, I guess you could look at Seattle. I guess you could look at Indiana. It just feels like not Indiana, LA. I guess it feels like in my mind, we've been sitting here waiting for the Dallas Wings to be in this conversation or to take that next step for years to come. And I don't know how we went from taking steps forward to like monumental like tumblings backwards to now you're kind of thinking like, how did you just like fall that hard? Like, did you really just fall down the stairs that badly? That's what's happened with Dallas. I don't really know why it happened.
I mean, I'll tell you why, because they built a team around Aryeh. I mean, like we can talk about, the macro of Greg and those issues and lying or, seeing eye to eye to coaching when you brought him on and things of that regard. But I think for me, it's like when you think of Dallas to me, and maybe in a year, I'm going to regret this take, but I'm low on Dallas. I like the moves they made, but I think you're making moves in a completely flawed equation because you are trying to build a team around Aryeh. And I just don't think she is that player. And I also think, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, that every year you continue with her. I mean, the Dallas Wings have one winning season as the Dallas Wings, a singular winning season as the Dallas Wings. Aryeh and Napheesa Collier have been in the league the same amount of time. That you're looking at me like, what? The Dallas Wings have
one winning season. What are you saying? What is the stat?
They have only had above 50, like more wins than losses.
Above 500.
Thank you. Couldn't think of it. But they've only been above 500 once since they moved to Dallas.
I'm looking this up real time right now.
Okay, please. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought I texted you this earlier in the week. It doesn't seem real.
Doesn't seem real at all.
I'm looking. One sec. Let me bring this up. Let me do it.
Okay. Are we talking about the Dallas Wings, or are we talking about also like when they were whatever they used to be?
No, that's exactly what my point is. I'm talking Dallas Wings. They as the Dallas Wings. Okay. Oh, that's what it was. I texted it to you. Here we go. Right. I DM'd it to you because we have to have 4 conversations going on different
11 and
whatevers.
23, 16 and 18, 15 and 19, 10 and 24, 8 and 14, 11 and 18. Am I reading this right? This is not right. This is crazy. There's no way that this 22 and 18 in 2023.
And that was the only time since they have been in Dallas that they have had a winning record. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm from Minnesota and I'm biased towards the Lynx and Napheesa Collier. I'm saying it because look at what Minnesota has done. Minnesota has struggled. Obviously, Minnesota has had more continuity in the coaching positions, but Minnesota has built a team around a player that they have identified as that cornerstone. And I'm sorry, I think the longer that the Dallas Wings hold on to Aryeh, the less value she has in terms of trade value. So I like the moves they made. And I think if Paige joins them, this could be a game changer. But the question is Aryeh going to be willing to step back from putting up, 25 shots a game and making 8 of them to letting, finding those better shots, playing smarter, more, just better basketball. And look, LA, yeah, I hear it, but I need to see it. Seattle, I'm not calling you a dark horse winner until you prove to me that this isn't just a really bad dramatic reality TV show. Atlanta, and also LA, I want to see how this new coach works. Atlanta, I want to see how this new coach works also. And I have questions in terms of what we anticipate in terms of the style of play fitting with some of the players that they have. So those are the teams that kind of pop out in my head. Obviously, I don't think Chicago's a dark horse. Obviously, I don't think Connecticut's a dark horse. So we start to really run into less and less teams. There's no way Golden State Valkyrie are running to the ship in their first year. I would respect it. I would love it. Their ownership did say he stole my quote, Rachel. He said 5 years we will win a championship. That is my line. Back off. Yeah. So when I go through, I kind of one by one check off these teams. Like, sorry, like what? Like, I haven't seen enough. You don't have enough. And then I look at Phoenix and I still have major question marks. But the one thing that Phoenix has that no other team that we're talking about in the dark horse has, obviously, again, I think Indiana's the dark horse. What do they have? They got Alyssa Thomas. Like Satu Sabally, are we going to see her for the full year? Are we going to see, the consistency of great play? I don't know. Clea Copper and Alyssa Thomas, that pairing. Granted, I do think they overlap more than people are realizing, but that pairing and the ability for Alyssa Thomas to just, Ashley Barker teams, put them on her back, wheel them. I had to do it. Wheel them, making it a full circle episode as we end. But Alyssa Thomas's ability to will teams to greatness has been so impressive throughout her career. I think we would be fools to doubt her. But I would still put them as the dark horse under the Indiana Fever. That's my final. Any final word before we log off for this episode, Rachel?
Are we logging off? Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff we haven't talked about and we're here, so we might as well just hash it out for a few more minutes. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Talk to me. Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, the LA Sparks look pretty smart getting rid of that number 2 pick. I mean, you can't tell me they knew what they were doing, but like in terms of Olivia Miles, like they didn't have some magic intel that she wasn't going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we even said it at the time, for them to trade up the number 2 pick for a sure, proven WNBA vet Olympian in Kelsey Plum, I can get with that all day. I have not criticized that whatsoever. I still, however, hate Chicago, and everybody was in my DMs last night sitting there saying, well, don't forget about Chicago and how smart they look. No, they don't. It's a completely different scenario. They gave up a 2027 first round pick, which
swap, something like that.
like
26 also.
Stuff. No, Chicago's not, they're not the same. They're not the same. Without having the exact trade specifics in front of me, no, Chicago does not look smart for trading up the number 2 pick, because that still could have been Malanga out of France. And anyway.
And Rachel, I'll say this, like, I'm very blunt about this. While I like the move for LA, I'll say this to the LA, anybody's face. I like the move for LA. I think it's a winning move for them. The only downside, the only way that they lose is if Malanga goes 2, has the most absurd, Simone Augustus career, winning 4 championships. Maybe she goes Rebecca Brunson and wins 5. You know what I mean? Or Candace Parker. She's, that player who's that generational, next level, whatever it is. So again, to me, that's how it goes from, is this trade worth it? Right? Because trades, there's the immediate, and in the immediate, there is no question in my mind, LA made the right move. In the long term, down the road, that's when you start to question it. But also you have to think, we've talked about this, I feel like ad nauseum, is that they had to win now. But yes, talk to me.
Yeah. Sparks got 9 back in that trade. Yep. The Sky gave up 1, 2027, that is likely Juju's year. Or Booker, Hidalgo, Michaela Williams, whoever it may be, that pick swap that easily in that 27 class. So no, they're not comparable. Chicago.
How bad do you think Chicago, Rachel, is hoping that Juju takes another year? Because it's possible she could, right? With the injury and all.
She should, and she probably will. Trying to figure out the timeline of coming back. Does she come back mid-season next year? She's her sophomore year, then you have her junior year, then she will come. She probably ends up playing 3.5 years of college basketball, and it does end up being 27 class. I don't know. I guess it could. Now the ACL thing changes everything drastically in terms of when she comes. But I also want to be very clear. Who has come out early? Name one person who has come out early. Everybody's talked about Lauren Betts could come out early. Oh, Flage could come out early. And maybe by the time this releases, Flage has come out early. But I'm just saying we haven't seen it yet. Lauren Betts is going back. Gianna Neepkins is going back. Now, granted, she's more of a traditional senior. But I'm talking about these draft
eligible. You're talking in general, too. You're not saying, show me one ever. You're saying, show me in general.
I'm saying in general, when was the last time we saw that happen? Who was a draft eligible junior that was you know what, I'm going to give up this final year of college and I'm going to go to the draft? Honestly, I'm sure it's happened. Please tell me who has done it. And especially right now.
Was it Jackie? Jackie Young maybe did.
We'd have to do some research. Again, that's what I'm saying. Please, everybody, at me, DM me, help me remember, because I'm having a really hard time. And there's a lot of discourse on social media talking about all the possibility of people giving up college eligibility years to, I don't know who, people aren't doing it. And then especially you're starting to see players who've been hurt. Olivia Miles wants to use another year. Paige Beckers was hurt, but opted to go back for again this year. Izzy Fudd wants to continue to develop and have another year at UConn. Let's talk about trends and let's really analyze this thing. And again, I want to get on my high horse here because I'm engulfed in this world of the transfer portal for hell or high water, good, bad, and different. I get to hear these conversations day in and day out. Everything is changing. For the last 3 years, we talked about NIL and we talked about players making money in a certain light. Okay? There's a difference between name, image, and likeness, which is a ruling, and how, yes, they can make money. Yes, some players can be sponsored by a local market or a dealership that's giving them some benefits. But then there's also this NIL that they're making from the school, which has come from a bogus collective of people who've pooled their money together, and that's what they've been paying the players out of. That's changing now. It's changing. Now we're going to go into what's called revenue sharing. Basically, every school now will have a giant pot of money, and that athletic director and that president is going to decide how that money is going to be allocated to football, to men's basketball, to women's basketball, to lacrosse, to track and field. This is how much everybody's going to get. And we just get to decide that. Every school is going to have a different number that they're working with. You might have some women's programs that are operating, at $1 million for the revenue share. You might have some that are operating at $500,000. It's not going to be an even playing field. So anyway, I just want it to be very clear that a lot of these players now, from this moment on, is like they're making their money from revenue share. And that money from revenue share will end when their college career is done. So I just want to make it really clear that a lot of players, yes, they can tap into this revenue share being paid directly from the universities that will far outweigh their rookie scale contracts. Now, the endorsements, sponsorships, all those types of things, those have the opportunity to carry over. But how many of those top dollar ones are there actually? I'm not talking okay, Juju and State Farm. Cool. Flage and Powerade, those types of things. Yeah, those are major ones. But really in the big picture, there's not a ton of those. So anyway, I just want to talk about those things. And I just think it's really an interesting time to analyze who is coming out early. Please help me, everybody, to remind me of someone who maybe Jack Young. I think you could be right on that. And then who are the ones that are just going to keep using these years? So anyway, just interesting to analyze as we talk about just the draft and some of these trades and how that is going to impact not just this year's draft class, but obviously 26 and 27 as well.
Well, and to your point, Rachel, I think a lot of people try and simplify things so they can, I'll make a Malunga comment here, get a dunk on somebody just for that sense. You know what I mean? Whereas things are nuanced, things are not
for
as,
sure.
1 or 0 as they often seem to be. As always, Rachel, great to be in the booth with you chatting all things WNBA, even though we touched on a little bit of college basketball today. Don't worry, fans, not too much more of it. We're almost back, full season. We got draft, training camp, the final free agency moves are going to come, and then the season begins. And for the first time in a long time, we got more than 12 teams. So there's going to be a whole headache of confusion. We're going to have to start doing some previews of teams, discussing what we think the ceiling and the floor is for these teams. Maybe have some of our friends over at Winsidr come on and chat about specific teams or specific things so we can just flood you with WNBA content before the latest, greatest season in the history of the WNBA begins. We'll catch you next time.